Well, welcome back. Today I will be going through Code of Silence from 1985. The movie takes place in Chicago, Illinois, and here we see Sergeant Eddie Cusack, played by Chuck Norris, partner Detective Dorado, played by Dennis Farina, posing as garbage men waiting for a customer to buy some drugs off of the Camacho crime family, and this guy is of course undercover with the Chicago PD, and you see the other Chicago PD officers on the lookout for suspicious activity, just like Under Siege, directed by Andrew Davis. Here we see two other officers, Craigie and Nick. If you have seen Home Alone 1 and Home Alone 2, you will easily recognize this guy over here, who's the gangster on the TV show Kevin McAllister likes to play in those two movies, played by Ralph Foodie, the actor's name, but here, this time, he's Detective Craigie. I always thought he was a 1930s pre-recorded TV show actor, but turns out this guy's real.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
So the undercover cop is waiting for the Camacho's customer and takes a ride with him to the Camacho's deal. And Eddie gives a signal to all the other Chicago PD officers to move in onto the deal's location. Here we see the customer getting an aggressive strip search by one of the Camacho goons. This actor also appears again in Above the Law 3 years later in 1988 with Steven Seagal. I think his name's Skifu in that movie. I haven't seen that movie in a while. So the two go up to see Victor Camacho, the brother of Luis Camacho, who you will see soon. And he's speaking Spanish and pretends not to understand the customer's, language, which is English.
I don't like people that don't want to shake my hand.
Well, that was awkward. In the next scene, we see some painters coming out of a van, and these guys are part of the Scalise crime family, one of them being Tony Luna, who will come in handy later in the movie. So they walk upstairs into the building and walk past this innocent kid. Of course, they are at the building right across to where the Camachos are selling drugs to this customer over here. And the Scalise posse are getting ready to raid the trade.
I know they got a good reputation. Tell them I'm just there.
The customer is checking to see if the drugs are real, and Victor Camacho feels a little insulted with a smile on his face. Eddie notified that there are painters present, and as you know, they are Scalise's guys. You will meet Scalise in a few moments. And it's too late, Eddie. Eddie runs in. So the Scalise guys slap a board, walk over it and grab the drugs and the money, and somehow Victor Camacho is still alive and shoots one of the Scalise's. And he's dead. So the board drops with Eddie and Dorado running after the Scalises. Dorado gets shot in the foot, and Eddie kills the Scalise guy who shot Dorado. Another movie using the Dirty Harry gun sound again. So Tony Luna and the remaining Scalises escape with the drugs and the money, and we see Detective Craigie and Nick searching upstairs for whatever's left in the apartment building. So Craigie gets scared. Yeah, nice job, Craigie, stupid ass. So Eddie comes back up to look at the kid's dead body, and with Nick knowing everything, Craigie lies with Eddie looking suspicious. And now the medical team is here to take Dorado to the hospital, and we are back at the Chicago PD headquarters with two of the Camacho guys. It looks like they're also playing Victor Camacho's game but pretend to not understand the English language.
Book 'em.
We are now in a Chicago suburb at Tony Luna's house, actually, and he is getting ready to leave, and it's his wife's birthday, and we see his daughter, Diana Luna, and of course, he doesn't care and is distracted by business. Here we see Tony Luna's associate, Gamiani. Tony Luna tells his associate, Gamiani, that Victor Camacho is still alive and wants him to watch his wife, daughter, and mother as he goes away to Wisconsin. The associate agrees and tells Tony that he is starting a war between the Scalises and the Camachos by doing this stunt a few minutes earlier in the movie.
Happy birthday.
Next scene, we are back at the Chicago PD with Craigie and Nick sitting down with Commander Cates, the commissioner, and says that there will be a court hearing about the teenager that was killed by Detective Craigie over here.
That goddamn little punk tried to shoot me in the back.
Relax, man. This is not Home Alone where you can shoot anything and get away with it. This is the real world. Continues to play the victim.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Eddie Cusack walks in and sees that Nick over here is going to be working with Eddie for the rest of the movie, since Dorado and Craigie both have their own issues. And just like Harry Callahan from Dirty Harry, Eddie thinks he's too good for a partner. And we are in the morgue department now, and we see the dead bodies of the two of the Camacho members. Here we see Luis Camacho himself, played by Henry Silva, another actor who will come back in Steven Seagal's Above the Law in 1988, who plays Zygon, I think, and an overall well-known actor in many movies, mainly action movies from back in the good old days.
Beautiful for their mother.
Well, at least he cares about his men. Most bosses don't, unfortunately. But we see Luis Camacho walking out with, I think that's his wife, and walks away past Eddie and wants to talk to him.
One day, I would like to give you a gift of a Colombian necktie.
Why don't you give it to me right now?
Oh, well, Eddie, he does get what he deserves in Above the Law, so I'd rather not waste my energy just yet. And he does get a pretty brutal treatment in that movie than you do to him in the end.
Come on. Ah, good shot.
So next scene, we see Eddie training, and I have said before, Chuck Norris is a martial artist, and this is one way to tell the world who watches the movies that this is his favorite hobby, or this is what he does for a living as well. And Dorado comes back with something stupid to say, and we are now in the Chicago PD washroom and see that Craigie is shaving and see two officers with petitions to prevent Craigie from having a hearing about this matter. So one of the officers wants Eddie to sign it, refuses, and the officer gets defensive.
Oh, get off your high horse.
Next scene, we see some advanced technology being presented to the entire department called the Police Prowler. And Eddie had to play with it.
Halt, police. Throw down your weapons. We will not harm you.
Next scene, we are at forensics, and the guy that shot Dorado in the foot and was eventually killed by Eddie is now identified. His name is Andy Varela. And Eddie says that Varela has an uncle. His name is, of course, Gamiani, which was Tony Luna's associate who came to his house. So Eddie and Nick look around for Gamiani and eventually find his house and walks out wearing this blue suit and follows him everywhere. And the first stop is the zoo/park, and we see Tony Luna's daughter, Diana Luna, with kids. I'm guessing she's a kindergarten teacher or babysitter. I don't know. And as Tony Luna told Gamiani, he is keeping an eye on her. And the following continues with Eddie and Nick doing the same. So from the zoo to the Chicago Public Museum and the library, and now we are at an art gallery. Eddie goes inside pretending to be an art lover and sees that Diana Luna is talking to a friend. And she goes into the next room and Diana notices Eddie.
I'm Eddie Cusack.
I'm making Eddie the cop.
But Diana isn't as stupid as she looks and can smell a cop and tells him she doesn't know where her dad is, which is Tony Luna.
Mother is, and frankly, I don't give a damn.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Eddie goes in the back of the art gallery to use the phone to find out where Tony Luna lives and see Diana's friend sniffing coke along with some others and gets scared after hearing this.
Catch you later.
In the next scene, we see Eddie and Nick following Luis Camacho this time, as Luis drives through Tony Luna's neighborhood since he disappeared the last time we saw him.
Hey, you comfortable?
Which was Wisconsin, that's where Tony Luna went to. And now the two are at a harbor to meet up with the Felix Scalise, the boss of the Scalise crime family. So we see a guard and a girl, and now Felix Scalise is sitting down with his granddaughter. I don't know.
Oh, asshole.
Eddie is really there to find Tony Luna and to tell him to stay away from the Camacho family. And Mr. Scalise over here tries to bribe him.
Is that a bribe, Mr. Scalise?
It's a prediction.
But Eddie has to go.
Nobody threatens me.
It's not a threat, Mr. Scalise. It's a prediction.
Badass comeback, by the way. In the next scene, we see a murder as Eddie and Nick are walking towards it and see that it is one of Tony Luna's associates who has been killed, and he got the same Colombian necktie treatment like Luis Camacho offered to Eddie Cusack earlier. So back to Tony Luna's neighborhood, and once again, here we see Gamiani's associate walking out, Tony Luna's mother, and see a produce truck. Inside all of it, of course, is Luis Camacho's guys getting ready to kill Tony's mother. Luis Camacho's guys are now inside Tony's house and have killed his wife, as Luis Camacho is watching from afar and they run off. Eddie and Nick are back in the scene and have been dispatched to head to Tony Luna's neighborhood, as Eddie wants to know if Diana Luna was also there when the shooting happened. But Diana is with Gamiani at a train station right now, and here we see Eddie and Nick looking for her. One of Camacho's guys stabs Gamiani and she runs off, and Eddie joins in on the fun as both Luis and Victor Camacho watch Eddie Cusack doing all the dirty work. So she hides behind this trash dumpster, and the guy that stabbed Gamiani found her. And here we see Eddie Cusack with his dirty, hairy pose.
Angel! Let her go.
So the goon runs off with Diana and Nick, as always, left behind. The two now enter the train, and Eddie catches up. The Camacho goon over here is named Angel, by the way, and he runs to the top of the train and chases after, or Eddie chases after Angel. We now cross the famous Chicago River, and Angel dives in as Eddie follows him. And Angel is now killed by a boat. So Diana Luna runs to the Chicago River harbor, and we see Eddie Cusack getting out of the water, being picked up by the Chicago PD. And we get to hear one of the best movie theme songs in action movies. So Diana is crying that both her mother and grandmother have been killed by the Camacho brothers. Tony Luna is still not in sight. So Eddie takes Diana to his dad's colleague's house for her to stay for now. Eddie's dad. The next scene, we are at a bar and we see this entire Chicago PD team there. And Nick drunk calls Eddie, and we see two thieves who are all ready to go rob the place. So this guy pretends to go use the bathroom while the other one acts cool, and this happens. Now the two are screwed. So Eddie's about to leave as Diana goes to sleep, and now he is at the bar. This actor does come back in Above the Law as well, and Under Siege. His name is Joseph Cazala.
Hey, Sarge.
I think he died in maybe 2001. He has a pretty recognizable face if you've seen this movie and Above the Law and Under Siege. Pretty much all of the Andrew Davis movies. Doesn't come back in The Fugitive though. But Eddie has another useless conversation with Dorado and goes to talk to Nick. And Nick tells the truth about Detective Craigie back there, that he planted the gun on the teenager to save himself from any harsh consequence. But Eddie tells Nick that he'll back him up for sure when the court hearing is in session. But before Eddie leaves, Craigie's confused that a superior officer won't side with him by signing the petition so he can prevent the hearing from happening.
Mister, you don't belong on the streets anymore.
Fuck you. Where do you get off?
Okay, so next scene we are at the court hearing while Diana's still at Eddie's dad's colleague's house, and Eddie is paying close attention at the hearing as Nick gives his side of the story. Back at the associate's house, someone's knocking at the door. And a supposed gas company worker's knocking, and of course we know, as the viewers, it's Camacho's guys trying to kidnap Diana Luna again. And now it's Eddie's turn to give his side of the story, and a specific question is asked that Craigie was supposed to be transferred in the past because of a similar incident, and Craigie loses the hearing.
That's what I'm saying.
Everyone just looks so mad at Eddie, especially old Craigie over here. Eddie tries to call up the house where Diana's staying at, which is the colleague's house, and no one is answering, so he goes there himself.
Now you're gonna get your chance, Cusack.
He gets there, and Eddie sees the police squad there, and also sees that his dad's associate is shot on the chest, and the officer present there tells Eddie that there was no girl when they found the body. So Eddie now calls in for backup, and everyone is not listening because Eddie spoke the truth at the court hearing about Craigie. Talk about loyalty from your team.
You have a backup for 18th and Halsted?
You heard what happened. Who the hell's gonna back him up?
Eddie's now at what looks like the Camacho hangout spot. So he goes upstairs and we see Victor Camacho once again sniffing coke and wondering where Luis Camacho is.
You better get your ass out of here.
Now Eddie's waiting for Luis's arrival and tries to scare off Camacho's goons.
Gun capital.
Here comes the big Camacho himself, and we see Victor starting us off with a bar brawl. One of the guys throws a pool ball at Eddie's head and the fight continues. Victor punches Eddie, and Luis tells Eddie that he wants Tony, Luna, and his daughter to get the drugs and the money back.
Victor!
When the sun comes up, you give me Luna.
But Camacho's goons throws Eddie into the alleyway, and Dorado is looking for Eddie. Dorado locates Eddie and tells him that his friend Maggie, who somehow works at a federal office, and that Tony is coming back to Chicago tonight for a wire from Union Station, since Like I said before, the first few times Tony Luna was in Wisconsin. And I knew that because, I've already seen the movie. He doesn't mention that till now.
Coming in town tonight at the Union Station at 10 o'clock.
Tony Luna is, of course, getting picked up by Felix Scalise. Eddie spots the car with Scalise and Luna. Scalise is trying to kill Tony Luna, and the Scalise's driver spots Eddie Cusack, and we see a car chase in pursuit. So Tony Luna tries to save himself and shoots the driver, and the car is now flipped upside down, leaving everyone in the car dead. So Eddie now calls in one of the Camachos to tell Luis that he has Tony Luna, wants to meet up somewhere. So meanwhile, Luis Camacho still has Diana Luna and, has her tied up. But Eddie heads back to the station and breaks in this key box to grab the truck's key and drives to the factory where Camacho is at. The Camachos are getting ready for Eddie's arrival as Eddie now unloads the truck with the police prowler, the same advanced technology piece that was shown earlier. The commander's pissed off to know where Cusack is, Eddie Cusack, and this fight occurs between Nick and Craigie in that they've left Eddie to do all the dirty work by himself.
What's this for, partner?
And now they get ready to go to work. Finally. So Eddie is operating the police prowler and Luis Camacho notices a bank. And we see Eddie Cusack walking in, ready to shoot up the remaining Camachos.
Get out there!
Eddie spots Diana and starts to shoot his way to get to Luis. And the police prowler is rolling in to shoot all the other guys.
Ephraim!
Gotta love that dirty, hairy gun sound. But Luis Camacho is the only one that remains alive and grabs his rock hammer. Eddie shoots Luis Camacho in the back, but he continues to be alive. He pulled off Victor Camacho's strategy of staying alive. Luis gets up, and now he goes towards Diana, and Eddie finally kills him for good. So the entire team is now present with Eddie carrying Diana Luna out. Everyone is now happy. The Camachos are done, especially Commander Cates over here.
See you tomorrow.
So Commander Cates over here wants Eddie to come back into work tomorrow. Funny how people just start becoming nice when the dirty work is done. Even the Scalises are done now too. Like, none of them are really alive. Both their mob bosses are now dead. And that's it. Code of Silence from 1985. Wonderful movie. One of Chuck Norris's greats. If you have seen Above the Law, Steven Seagal's, it is very similar to this, or the other way around. Also directed by Andrew Davis. You can see a lot of similarities between this and that movie. Great theme to end it off, and theme song is one of the many reasons why people watch this movie, including myself. I still listen to the theme song till this day. It's the best, one of the best. That's it. See you in the next episode, which will be Time Cop 1994 with Jean-Claude Van Damme. Take care, watch away, and tune in for the next episode. Like, comment, subscribe, and see you soon.